The U.S. opioid epidemic began nearly 3 decades ago after pharmaceutical companies introduced what they promised would be a less addictive form of opioid. Last month, a federal judge ordered the release of a federal database that details how pharma companies saturated the market, creating the nation's deadliest drug epidemic. And the widespread use of those pills is growing around the world as well, as CGTN's Jim Spellman explains.
Cody, where do you live? Do you have a place homeless?
World health officials say the global opioid crisis is more severe and widespread than previously thought. According to the UN's latest drug report, an estimated 53 million people used opioids in 2017. Opioids now account for 2/3 of all drug-related deaths. Sweden, Norway, Ireland, the UK, and Australia have all seen escalating rates of opioid deaths, mostly linked to pharmaceutical painkillers.
36-year-old male not conscious is breathing.
In the U.S., opioid use has skyrocketed. More than 47,000 people died from overdoses in 2017 alone. That's 130 deaths a day, as whole communities have been overwhelmed.
I would say 90% of what we do is drug-related. Almost every burglary that we take is drug-related. No matter what we do, I mean, just there's more and more and more opiates getting flooded into our region.
New reporting by the Washington Post reveals the U.S. pharmaceutical industry fueled the epidemic by flooding communities with billions of powerful and addictive pain pills. In 2006, 8.4 billion doses of hydrocodone and oxycodone, known by its trade name OxyContin, were distributed in the U.S. By 2012, just 6 years later, the number jumped more than 50% to 12.6 billion. During that period, nearly 100,000 people died from overdoses. The top distributors and manufacturers are now being sued in federal court in Ohio, accused of willfully ignoring signs their products were being abused.
I do believe that it is incumbent on us as the Department of Justice to ensure that justice is done regardless of whether the person is dealing at the street level or enabling it in a boardroom.
The companies deny wrongdoing and argue they were simply meeting the demands of patients' lawfully prescribed pain meds. In New York, prosecutors are suing members of the Sackler family, who control Purdue Pharma, maker of OxyContin.
We allege that the family has illicitly transferred funds from Purdue to personal trust so that they are potentially outside of the reach of law enforcement and our efforts to seek restitution or penalties.
The opioid industry has already paid billions in settlement and is expected to pay billions more. The suits could lead to payouts rivaling the more than $200 billion paid by the tobacco industry. But generally, those funds don't go directly to help the users of those drugs, many of whom will continue to struggle with addiction. Jim Spellman, CGTN, Washington.